In this video, I will teach you the Ruy Lopez or Spanish opening. When you sit down to play, you find your kingdom in perfect order. There is peacetime, but war is brimming, and it is your duty as general to deploy your army rapidly and effectively. This is achieved by knowing what job each of your pieces have, and by helping them enter the battlefield at the right time and place. Here is the Ruy Lopez again. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, and the move signaling the Ruy Lopez, bishop B5. Where does this come from? This opening was first described in the Göttingen manuscript more than 500 years ago, in 1490. It was popularized by the Royal Archbishop of Spain in his book Libro de Ajedrez in 1561, and it still bears his name, Ruy Lopez. The Ruy Lopez is an opening that every chess player must know, even if they don't play it, because it is essential to our chess understanding, and knowing this opening will make you a better player, even if you never play it. Therefore, I will teach you the main line in this video, the soul of the Ruy Lopez. Later, I will make a video about common mistakes, important traps, and critical sidelines that you can use to your advantage if you decide to pick up the Ruy Lopez, or if you want some tricky weapons against it. Yeah, before I proceed, I should address the elephant in the room. Hello, Mr. Elephant. The name's Bob, actually. All right, Bob. There has been some serious controversy regarding my last video, or more specifically the title of that video, and I am going to address all of that, but I will do so at the end of this video so as not to distract those who just wants to learn the powerful Ruy Lopez. So, cheerio, Mr. Elephant. I will speak to you at the end of the video. Alright. Let's go back to the beginning and understand, let's do it like this, what we are doing with the Ruy Lopez. I once asked a real chess grandmaster if he could start the game with 2 moves rather than just one, what would they be? And without hesitation, he picked up the E and D pawns and moved them 2 squares forward. He explained that the center, these 4 squares, is the most important part of the chess board, and if you control the center like this, you will have a great advantage. Control the center, control the universe of chess. These 2 pawns are known as the center pawn duo, and the Ruy Lopez is all about establishing these even if black tries to stop you. Here is how it works. You open the game with pawn to E4, and goal number 1 is already achieved. But black plays E5, stopping your plan of playing D4, because they could come in and capture it. And here follows a sequence of moves that will allow you to play D4 anyway, but only at the right time. First, you play knight to f3. This is a great move because it does a great many things. It attacks your opponent's pawn here in the center, and it defends d4. The move also gets this knight out early, which is good because the knight is a slow piece that will usually need many moves to get to your opponent's king in an attack. And lastly, it brings you one step closer to castling your king to safety. You want your king safe so you can enact your own plan without worrying too much about counterattacks. In the Ruy Lopez, black responds to this threat against e5 by playing knight to c6. This is a more active and effective move than defending with something like pawn to d6. So knight to c6. And here comes the Ruy Lopez move. Bishop to b5, attacking the knight. When I first started playing chess, long before I knew that there were even such a thing as chess theory, this is what I played with white. But I played it for the wrong reason. I thought that after black's most natural move, pawn to h6, I could come in and capture this knight, as after pawn takes bishop, I would have eliminated the defender of e5 and I could play knight takes e5. And look at me, I have won a pawn. Aren't I great? But this is a mistake that you must not make, because here black can play queen to d4. Look at that. This is what is known as a fork, as it attacks both the knight and the pawn. And after you protect your knight by dropping it back to f3, black can come in and capture this pawn right back, checking your king. If you move, you can no longer castle, and the only other way is queen to e2, and black will then play queen takes queen, check, king takes queen, and look at this. Now you can no longer castle your king. Instead, he is trapped dangerously in the center of the board, and here simply black has gained a marked advantage. So let's go back. Repetition is good for learning chess openings. We put the pieces back from whence they came. Also for the black side. Queen here, knight here, and pawn e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and then h6. But if we don't capture the knight, why are we even playing bishop b5 then? Why not a more direct move like bishop to c4? This move is more active, it seems, and it attacks the c4, the f7 square, and also it is looking at this center square on d5. This here is known as the Italian game, not the Spanish, and it is a perfectly fine and very direct approach. But the Ruy Lopez is more sophisticated. With bishop b5, you are creating tension, saying that you can capture the knight at any given moment and then go for e5. So your opponent has to constantly be on their toes. Also, this bishop is directly now pointing at the king and can transform into a beastly attacking piece if your opponent falters in the development of their forces. h6 here is the main line, but you don't capture the knight. That's the thing. Instead, what you do is you drop the bishop back, maintaining the tension. And let's talk about how the opening is going so far. Your plan is to establish the center pawn duo like this. Currently, the d4 square is firmly under black's control, so your strategy will be to prepare the d4 push with pawn to c3, so it would be defended. Even if they capture, you can re-establish the center pawn duo. This is important because now, after you play this bishop back here, black plays knight to f6, attacking this pawn. And it looks natural here, and this is a mistake you must not make. It looks natural here to defend this pawn here with knight to c3. But can you see the problem? The knight is blocking the c3 pawn, so it cannot go, the c pawn, so it cannot go to c3, and therefore it is hard to establish the center pawn duo. So what you do is you are a brave general, and you trust in the Ruy Lopez opening. So you just castle your king here, seemingly ignoring the threat on the e5 pawn. Black can come in and capture your pawn. This is known as the Berlin defense, and it is something that the top grandmasters like Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura plays. It is not so good for lower rated players to go for this variation though, as you, as a white, can first strike in the center, d4, and if they capture, you can see how it works. You have rook to e1, pinning the knight against the queen, and you will soon win back your pawn that you temporarily gambited, because they cannot really keep defending. You have two attackers already, so you are ahead in the race, and they need to save this knight from the rook coming in and capturing here. So something like this would give white a great advantage and a great initiative. If you play the Berlin defense as black, you really need to know what you are doing. It's best to leave that to the pros until you become one yourself. Let's go back. As we just saw, if black does not know the Berlin defense very well, they are not going to come in here and capture, as it will be very dangerous. Instead, they play this little move here, bishop to d7, and this is a threat, a subtle threat that you have to know if you are playing with the white pieces, because this move protects the king a little bit. You can see now that there is a piece more in the way, so a rook coming here after something like d4 in the plane we saw before is not going to be as effective, because the knight on d4 would not be pinned to the king because we have this bishop in the way. So in a very subtle way, black is now threatening to come in and capture here. So that is why we defended. Before I show you how we defended, I'm just going to discuss one little thing. What if they play something like bishop c5 instead? That looks more active. Many beginners will do that. Well, that helps you. It looks like it's more dangerous for your king, but it helps you, because what is your plan? Your plan is to play c3, c3, and d4. And here, that would pick up a tempo against this bishop. It would have to move again. You would establish still your chain here, your center pawn duo, and you will have done so gaining time. And that is why, if black knows what they are doing, they are not playing bishop c5, they are playing bishop e7, which, as you remember, had this subtle threat of now Black can actually come in and capture here. So how do you defend? You play rook to e1. This is where the rook wants to be anyway, helping out defending the center and potentially looking at the black king if they don't castle soon. So what is the response from black side? In the main line, they play b5. Just to say, you're never going to come in and capture this knight. Please stop looking at my king, because they maybe want to play d6, and then if they hadn't played b5, then the knight would be pinned. Not good. So they play b5, attacking your bishop, and the bishop drops back to b3. Now we are looking at f7. So the bishop is still a very effective attacking piece. And in the main line here, black plays pawn to d6. They could also castle first. That is sort of the most popular second variation to play. And this little d6 move comes with an important positional threat of this bishop coming out and pinning this knight here, which would really arrest your development of your forces. So you do not want to allow this. You don't have to play h3 immediately. Instead here, the main line suggests that you can go ahead with pawn to c3. So you are pretty close now to establishing this center pawn duo with pawn to d4. And now, to avoid getting attacked very furiously with some bishop takes and knight coming in and the queen coming in and you're playing d4, it's time for black to castle, so that their king can be a little more safe from your avalanche here in the center and your dangerous bishop pointing at the king here on f7. And that gives you time, mind you, not to be impatient and play d4 right away. No, that is not what you're going to do, because if you play d4 right away, bishop g5 will be a problem for you. This knight is important. Don't allow them to capture it. Don't allow them to pin it to the queen. Why? Because it's looking here at d4. It is needed to help with the defense of d4. And that is why you do not play d4 just yet. Not yet. You play h3 instead. h3 stops this flank attack, stops this bishop from coming to g4. Now, can we now feel that we are ready to play d4? Let's see what black in the Ruy Lopez wants to hit us with, so that they can try to stop us from doing that. They play knight a5. They say that a knight on the rim is dim, but there is a very particular reason why they play knight a5. They are attacking this very important bishop, but there's also a more subtle point to the move. Now, you do not want them to come in and capture this bishop. This is a very important attacking piece in the Ruy Lopez. But your plan of c3 is multi-purpose. It is, of course, threatening to come in with d4. That is the main point. But look at this. You play bishop c2. And now you are actually looking at a different light square near your opponent's king. Of course, this pawn will need to move, but don't worry, the center will be opened up at some point. But if we can just do that, why would black ever play knight a5? Well, they have this subtle little plan. c5. They could not do that before because the knight on c6 was blocking this pawn. And now they have 1, 2 defenders of d4. So what are you going to do about that? Well, you, my friend, you are a brave and wise general, and in this position you will play d4 anyway, trusting that your careful preparation will justify this strike in the center. And the point is that it's actually not good for black to try to destroy your center pawn duo in this position. Look at this. If they do this, they won't, or if they do, they are committing a mistake. C takes d4, C takes d4, E takes d4, and you just play knight takes d4. Well, they did succeed in destroying your center pawn duo, but they are left with a backwards isolated pawn here. So there are no pawns that can ever protect this. This is now a target. And your knight is on a very strong square. This knight can't even come back. You can come in and capture it. You still have a pawn in the center. You have these fearsome bishops looking at the king. Your queen can join at any moment, and you simply have an advantage here. So let's go back and see. This is the position that you have reached. What is your plan now that this goal has been reached? Well, first we should notice what you are really threatening. Look at this e5 pawn. You are actually threatening it twice. And if they don't blow up the center against you, you can come in and capture. So they want to defend that. How to do it? Well, if they try to come back with the knight here to defend like this, you can gain an advantage by pushing this pawn to d4. The knight will have to move again, and you are not going to capture here, of course, but let's say a move like knight going all the way back here, you can see that your new plan should be to push, for instance, with f4 and open up an attack against the king here, because these pawns are backwards, these pawns are advanced, and they are blocking off a lot of defensive pieces against the king. So here you would be very happy. Therefore, knight c6 is not a good way to defend. Instead, the main line is queen to c7, defending the pawn on the diagonal. And let's now take a look at the battlefield and how our forces, or your forces, are doing. We have established the center pawn duo, castled our king to safety, gotten our light squared bishop out to a good position from which it can quickly attack our opponent's king. We have our rook developed and attacking the center, and our queen and dark squared bishop are already in the game without having even moved. You can see that the bishop here can come to e3 if you want to, or it can come to g5 attacking this knight, and it is looking at all these squares. Similarly, at the right time, at your convenience, you can move this knight to allow this queen into the game. So, if we look at this, we can see that king, pawns, knight, bishops, queen and rook, they are all doing their part. They are all participating in your grand master plan. But what about these two pieces? The victor in any game of chess is the one who employs their forces most effectively. This horse should not be left at the stable. this rook or this cannon should not be left in the armory. So what are your weapons, your mechanisms to get these pieces into the game? Let's start with the A1 rook. How does it get into the game? The tool that you use here is as simple as it is beautiful. At your convenience, at the right moment, you play A4. And your plan is to exchange these pawns and then have this nice open file here for your rook, so it can be developed and active and in the game without having even moved. So A4 is one plan to activate the rook. What about the knight? The knight is more subtle, it's more sophisticated. So to understand what we want to do with the knight, we will use a piece of advice that I think is the most valuable you can ever give to a chess player, and it is talk to your pieces. Ask them where they want to be. Can you imagine if you could just pick up this knight and put it down anywhere on the chessboard where it would really enjoy itself? Where would this knight be really, really happy? How about if you could just drop ship it down like a paratrooper? You can't do this, but what if you could put it on F5? It would be attacking the king here on G7. There could be these checks. If you get the queen, for instance, to G3, there could be checks here. That's a very popular way of attacking. You couldn't capture if the queen was there. The pawn would be pinned. You are attacking this bishop. You are attacking the D6 pawn. And the only way that white can really get rid of this is by either committing a weakness here, admitting a weakness, and playing G6, or by giving up the light squared bishop to capture it here. And the light squared bishop is of course very important because it is the counterpiece to your very strong attacking piece here, your light squared bishop. How can we get there? What is the plan for the knight? How will it get to F5? From here the game can of course develop in many ways. So be always vigilant and careful, look at what black is doing, and then slowly, once you have responded to all the threats, mobilize the rook and the knight. We know how about the rook, how about the knight? Here is the root. Here is the root to F5. Knight D2. Then knight to F1. Ah, that's nice. We made room for that with the rook. Knight to G3, and then, when the time is right, knight to F5. And even from G3 it is attacking. For instance, we could come here. If this knight ever moved, we would be protected by the queen. So this route, knight D2, knight F1, knight G3, and finally knight F5. That is the way that you are going to deploy this knight. Also, you should know about this knight that in some variations it can change its mind mid-journey and go knight to D2, and it may be that the knight is needed on B3, where it would be more focused on the queen side if black is doing something dangerous over here, or if they have committed a weakness over here. So that is also a way to get the knight into the game. Knight D2 and knight B3. And there you have it. That is the main line of the Ruy Lopez. Watch out for coming videos where I go over common mistakes that white can make, must-know traps that black can try to spring on you, and critical sidelines of this beautiful and historical opening. Now, hello, what about that controversy? My last video was titled, "It's Time to Say Goodbye." And that is clickbait. And before anything else, I want to give my most. I shouldn't tear up here, but my most sincere thanks to the overwhelming support from you guys who watch these videos. I got so many supportive and kind messages and ideas of how to help my channel, and I've not even finished replying to all of them because there were literally hundreds, which was just, guys, I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I am sincerely thankful for you guys being so amazing. So yeah, all of you, the support. Yeah, okay, but why? Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I should explain. So why did I call the video that it's time to say goodbye, and why would people have all these supportive comments, and why would I ever use clickbait? So my channel has been suffering very, very much, like many mid-sized YouTube channel, because in October YouTube rolled out some new changes to the algorithm, and it now favors more clickbaity titles, and it does not like long form content like I do, where I don't put ads throughout the video. They did force us to put ads at the end of the video. I couldn't do anything about that, but I am still allowed to not have ads in the middle of the video because I want this to be relaxing, right? That means though that YouTube are showing less commercials, less ads, and that means that they make less money. They don't like that. They want to make more money, and therefore they have turned some knobs. They have, finessed the algorithm to be not so kind to us ASMR creators and mid-sized channels who work like this, where we rely very heavily on you, the audience. So I have been working like crazy. I've been putting out, last week I put out 4 videos. I usually put out 1 video in a week because I spend a lot of time making the videos. There goes a lot of time into preparing them and editing them and doing the lighting and the mixing of the audio and all of that. So it's not really sustainable, but I was just trying, to get the algorithm to see that I am active and I make good quality content. Please allow me to reach the audience. And I've been for months doing everything I could until finally I realized nothing works, and I did this clickbait. And it was controversial because although there was a lot of supportive comments, there were also a lot of people who said like, oh, you gave me a shock. I thought you were really closing down the channel, while it was just sort of a little joke, because I was not saying goodbye to you guys. I will never say goodbye to you guys. Even if the views drop to nothing, I'm still going to make videos. It'll probably not be like one every week, more like one every month or 2 months, even if I, but I was just saying I was just trying to make a little joke and trying like Gotham Chess or something to be a little clickbaity, to get people to click on the video, to get you guys to click on the video. And people were saying, oh, it was a shock, it gave me a heart attack, it gave me a panic attack. And first of all, I'm so sorry. I would not have done it if I had known that it would be taken like that, taken seriously like that. I want this to be a relaxing channel. I want this to be like a force for good in your life. I don't want to give you a heart attack or a panic attack or a shock or anything like that. So I'm sorry about that. And I'm not going to, keep milking it like that. and I will never make a video where I suspect that you could get a shock like that again. I'm sorry, I learned my lesson. Most people in the comments, most of you guys said, we can understand, of course it's not ideal that you do clickbait, but we like your content, it's the YouTube game, you have to get the clicks, otherwise the channel is not sustainable at the rate you're going. It's fine, we understand, although it's not perfect. But some people had some harsh words for me, saying that clickbait is not okay, it is dishonest, and that really hurt me, because I agree. I hate clickbait myself, and I would wish so much that it was completely unnecessary. And I'll have to find a way to do more wholesome clickbait, or like to make some titles that are very engaging and clickable that you would like to click on. I will work on that. I do have, though, to get the clicks. Some people were saying like you can still get 10,000 views on some of the videos like that. So why do this? Well, it's because YouTube doesn't pay that much. And I rent this studio. Renting the studio is $800 every month. And I work crazy hours to produce all of this. So I can't really work much anymore in my private life. And I have a lot of responsibilities in life. So in order to do this channel at the rate that I'm currently doing and in the quality that I think that you guys want and I think you guys deserve, then it has to be at least semi-sustainable financially. Then there were some great suggestions that I would like to address. So people were saying I should do a podcast. Totally going to see if I can make that work. Do more opening videos. Well, here's an opening video. Do more whisper videos, which I'm also thinking, of course, I should do more whisper videos. And there were also quite a few people saying that I should promote my Patreon more, even though that is also sort of, that's not why you click on a video. You don't click on a video to say, I want to hear how I could be supporting this guy. No, you want to click on a video to learn something or to have a good ASMR experience, or, But it is, Patreon is a way where you guys, if you want for me to rely less on clickbait, then you can go in, then you can donate some amount, $1, $5, $1,000 if you're like super rich. The point is that you do that, subscribe with like some small donation every month, and if I had 1,000 people doing that, I would know that I could pay my rent here at the studio and where I live, and then it wouldn't be as big of a problem, of course, if the views dropped for a period, because I wouldn't have to work like crazy and do clickbait in order to get food on the table. So I'm going to, in future videos, be promoting my Patreon more, patreon.com/ASMRchess, and I'm going to work out, is there some benefits I can give you, if you get an extra video, small video every month if you donate $5 or more, or maybe you can always get, of course, access to the ASMR Chess Discord server. Of course, that's already open. No matter what you donate, you get access to that with there are so many cool people in there, and we discuss our games and discuss the videos, and I give early access to the videos every time I can, and every time if I make a video that's not going out because for whatever reason it was not long enough for the channel or whatever, I still share it in there. And I'm going to work to see, can I make it a good deal for you to come in on the Patreon. And I'll stop the video now. I'll go and answer the last 100 comments that I haven't gotten to on that video. Thank you so much again. I can't describe how much it means to me. I can't, for the support. And to those of you who said that you left, if for some reason you still clicked on this video, thanks for coming back. And well, it doesn't make any sense to address you if you're not here, but I understand. I don't want to be doing clickbait. I want to just have like honest descriptive titles. But yeah, this is where we are right now. Thanks for the support. I am looking forward to do more ASMR chess content for you guys.